our Pellissippi State dual enrollment orientation. We are glad you're here. We're going to give everyone just a few more minutes to join, and we'll get started in just a moment. Thank you for attending our Pellissippi State dual enrollment orientation. My name is Rebecca McPherson, and I am the dual enrollment specialist at the Blount County campus. And I'm joined today by my manager, Mr. Spencer Joy. This session is focused on supporting currently registered dual enrollment students. Today, we're going to review essential steps, expectations, and tools for success. If you have not registered yet, don't worry. We are glad that you're here, and we have some information for you as well. So we just wanted to say welcome. If you have any questions, we do encourage you to submit them in the question and answer box at the bottom of the screen. And we're going to do our best to answer as many questions as we can this evening. So we're just going to go ahead and get started.
Good evening, guys. My name is Spencer Joy. I'm the manager of dual enrollment at Pellissippi State. We are thrilled that so many of you are able to join us this evening. And this presentation will be recorded, and we will put it on the dual enrollment website, as well as email it out to all students Pellissippi State email accounts. I know most of you join us tonight have already registered for fall, and that is awesome. But for those joining us who maybe haven't, I recommend that you head over to the dual enrollment webpage as soon as you can to complete the checklist that's located at the bottom of the dual enrollment webpage. Those steps include applying to Pellissippi, applying for the dual enrollment grant, getting your high school transcript. And if you're taking a class on a high school campus, it's possible that we haven't enrolled you yet for it. This would be a class where we are sending one of our instructors to deliver the course at your high school campus. Don't fret yet. We generally don't register students for those sections until a little closer to the beginning of the semester, which is August the 20th. That's the first day of classes, and we will talk a little bit more about that. Students and families always have the ability to make an appointment with me and Rebecca, and I will show you guys how we can access that for anybody who has some further questions or concerns that we need to talk about further. There could be people on the call that maybe can't access their if you can't get into your My Pellissippi account, if you can't access Brightspace, those are two of the biggest things that students use to successfully succeed at Pellissippi. It is definitely time for you to be able to look up your account and go from there. And I'm gonna head over to on the Pellissippi State. This is just My Pellissippi, the landing page so many students use. And you can go to the Computer Help Desk website and you can look up your username, your campus email address, and your P number, and your default password from here. So a couple of really important things. When a student enrolls in a college, they have certain rights, freedoms, and responsibilities that are essentially the rules of our beloved Pellissippi State. So the students' rights, freedoms, and responsibilities are accessed by way of the college catalog. You could probably just Google rights, freedoms, and responsibilities, Pellissippi State, to review those. Also, all students will receive an email by way of their Pellissippi State email account, laying out just a reminder of, hey, these are the rights, freedoms, and responsibilities of students. This is also something that's common at most colleges. Safety and security is something we take very seriously at Pellissippi State. There are security guards present at all of our campuses during all of our business hours when students are present. We do have 24/7 security personnel at the Hardin Valley campus, and our security personnel are huge assets to our campus, and it's not really just beyond keeping us safe, but just helping us. That's what most of our campus police, they spend their time helping students. Could be maybe your battery's dead and you need your car jumped off, or maybe you're looking for a location on campus and you're not sure where that is. Just ask, simply ask. Doesn't just have to be a safety or security guard. It could be any person on campus that you see. It's a welcoming campus, but we take safety and security very seriously, and there is always a presence for students and staff.
All right, so there are a few differences between moving from a high school campus to a college campus and to be a high school student versus a college student. And one of those biggest difference is a protection called the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. It's abbreviated as FERPA. And this is a privacy that says that students have they have protection over their records. It protects all student records. And this is a law that you're going to see at colleges all over the country. It's applicable to all students regardless of age. So that means a student who is a dual enrolled high school student would have to sign a disclosure of records in order for their parent to have access to their academic information. So this FERPA waiver or disclosure of records form can be found on a student's My Pellissippi account. You can log into your account, go to the student forms folder, and under Start Strong Center, you should see the disclosure of records form. So if you want your parent to be able to have a conversation with a faculty member, a professor, or someone on staff about anything that has to do with your academic record, please make sure that you have completed this form. This can also be, yes, when you click on the form, it does automatically fill in your information, and then you have spaces to disclose the information to a lot of people. Now, this form does give your family access to the information, those individuals that you provide access to, but it does not allow them to make changes on your behalf, so just make sure that you're taking care of that yourself. All right, so another thing that I'd like to talk with you about is disability services. So at your high school, if you have used a 504 or an IEP plan, this is something that does not automatically transfer over, but we definitely want to support your accommodations. So this is something that you will need to apply through our Disability Services Office. So students can apply for their accommodations through My Pellissippi. they'll go to that student forms folder again. And then under on the left side there, under disability services, you should see a link that says apply for services. So we strongly encourage students who use accommodations or who have a 504 and IEP in their high school to make sure that you take the steps so that we can help you meet those needs. Another thing about the Disability Services Office, we just want to make sure that you know that all the communication, once you apply for services, any kind of follow-up that happens will go through the student's Pellissippi email account. So that's another reason to just make sure you're checking your email very regularly. And then also any kind of information that's shared, we would have to have that FERPA disclosure form signed so that we can talk to a parent. Otherwise, it will be through the student. Right. So college is different than high school in other ways as well. So I'd like to talk with you about a little bit, some academic expectations. Pellissippi State follows our Pellissippi State academic calendar. So this is something that you can pick up on campus. We have them all over campus. You'll want to pick up the one for the fall 25 semester. It has a list of all of the dates that are important. We start classes on August 20th. Finals are the week of December 8th through 12th. Our last official day of classes is December 6th. And we have different dates for fall break and for Thanksgiving break. So if your high school's dates are different than ours, it's really important to know the expectation that you are expected to follow the Pellissippi State academic calendar for your dual enrollment classes. So please just make sure if you have any questions about that, grab an academic calendar, ask someone. But yes, the expectation is that you will follow Pellissippi State's calendar. Another thing that may be different is that we do expect that all homework and reading assignments are completed before class or outside of class. So your instructor may give you an assignment for reading, and when they do, they expect that when you come to the next class that that's going to be completed. They don't give a lot of time in class for any homework or assignments. So if you're in a class like a 3-credit hour English class, you can expect to physically be in the classroom for about 3 hours a week. And then we encourage students to consider about an hour of homework time for every, or excuse me, 2 hours of homework time for every hour that you're in class. So that means that if you're taking that English class, by the time you count in your class time and your homework, your reading time, you should anticipate about 9 hours a week for a class such as English. And that's not exact, but that's a good estimate to kind of prioritize your time, manage your time. Late work is not accepted generally in college classes. So, of course, there are some extreme circumstances. The best thing that you can do is communicate with your professor. But just know, as a general rule, it is not accepted, and you will have to make sure that you're turning things on time, following the syllabus, and especially communicating with your instructor if any problems do come up. In the same way, we are an attendance taking institution. So if you have an in-person class, please make every effort to be there. Attending class is vital for your success. Communicate with your instructors via Brightspace. Brightspace is our online classroom, and Spencer's going to tell us a little bit more about that in just a little bit. But also, we have the Pellissippi email address. So that's the ways that we're going to be looking for correspondence from you, communication with you. So if you have something that you need to talk with your instructor about, please make sure and use those resources to reach out to them. And then finally, a reminder, instructors are not able to speak with your parent or guardian unless that FERPA consent is on file. So just make sure that if that's something that's important to you, that you have taken care of that step. I'm going to talk a little bit about grading. So Pellissippi State does use letter grades. We are assigned grades based on the letter system. So you're not going to have a grade assigned like an 87 or a 93. You would have an A, B, C, D, or F grade assigned for your course. So your midterm and final grades are recorded in your My Pellissippi account, and we'll show you how you can find those. But you can expect to get your midterm grades around the 13th of October and final grades around the 12th of December. So if you'd like to go to find those grades when it's time, you can just pull up your My Pellissippi account. And you can click on the More Options button, and that's going to take you to your student profile where you can click on Student Records. and you'll have an option there to see your midterm grades. So definitely important to kind of get that feel for where you're doing midway through the semester in case you do need to reach out. We're going to talk about some resources that you have access to all throughout the semester, but just make sure and stay on top of those assignments and your grades. Again, midterm grades expected around the 13th of October and final grades December 12th.
All right, so this is really our to-do list, our pre-semester checklist that students need to do before the first day, August 20th. Students need to verify their schedule in MyPelicippi. They need to log into Brightspace to make sure all their courses are showing there. They should check their Pellissippi State email account for looking for any kind of important correspondence from the college. This is especially applicable for students who are enrolled in courses that have an e-text requirement, and I will talk a little more about that in a few minutes. Students need to visit their campus. There's campus maps available online as well as at each of our campuses, but students need to come to campus and find parking, find their classrooms, and then I'll talk a little bit, I'll have a few slides about payment and any remaining account balance. But this is what we highly recommend the students do between now and August 20th. So in terms of how to view a student's schedule, a student logs into their MyPelicippi account, as I am going to do now. And I am going to select class schedule. That's going to take me hopefully directly to my class schedule and the courses of which I am registered. Now, I do realize that this may be a challenge to see with sharing the screen, but there's a couple things that are really important here. Okay, now then again, this is just an example schedule. I'm not taking these courses, using them for demonstration purposes. But as we're looking at the schedule, we want to look at the campus location. We want to make sure that we are registered for courses that are at the location that we intended it to be at. If every semester there's one or two students who registers for an English course or a stats class that's at Blount County when they wanted it at Hardin Valley campus, or they thought they were registering for class at Strawberry Plains and it was at the Magnolia Avenue campus. So we'll tell you on the detailed schedule exactly which campus location. And of course, it does show the room number, Tuesday, Thursday. The R stands for Thursday, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm going to talk more about this page in a minute. So verifying your schedule, that's how you do it. Log into MyPelicippi, select course schedule, make sure everything looks right. And let's see now. So maybe one of the most important things that really we will say going forward, the most important part of a student's success at Pellissippi State is going to involve this Brightspace login link. The hallmark of a dual enrollment student who's potentially going to get off to a right start is for them to bookmark this page. So for Knox County school students who are joining us, you have heard of something known as Canvas. And regardless from where you are joining us or where you may be attending school, you have a learning management platform at each high school that students are enrolled in. And this is Pellissippi State. It's Brightspace. And we get to it from that landing page. You can see the courses I'm registered for. I'm registered for a biology 1010 lab and a lecture and a math 1530 course. Now, these are all in-person courses, but regardless of the format, whether it be an in-person course or an online class, Brightspace is the medium for which all students are submitting all assignments, completing all quizzes, tests, and that kind of stuff. All right. So it says that the course starts August 20th at 12 a.m. Well, nobody on God's green earth needs to be logging in at midnight on August 20th. Okay, that's kind of just when the semester officially starts. All students need to be logging in on the first 2 days. Even if your course is meeting in person, still log in on the first 2 days. Now, I know there's nothing we can do with these until August 20th at midnight. And on August 20th, they will turn bright, like these examples I have at the top. So one thing that should be added to all students' Brightspace is this 2025 Brightspace student tour. All right. And this is a great opportunity for students to start kind of getting a little more familiar with Brightspace and kind of how the portal works. And again, it's not exactly like Canvas. The functionality in theory is exactly the same, but it's similar. And it doesn't take as much getting used to as it used to. And we didn't use Canvas and stuff as much, but nonetheless, that is available to students. It should be in all students' Brightspaces, which sounds weird to say as plural. But something else I was going to show here is this is an example of a class that's like if your class opens when it opens on the 20th. This is what it looks like, or an example of what one may look like. And in this instance, here I have information about a textbook. All right, so I'm going to talk more about textbooks in a minute, but it's important to know that everything that we need to know about the class and how the class is going to be conducted, including the course syllabus and important dates and all of that, is all in a student's Brightspace. Once the course begins, students can access that anytime on the 20th or after. And
All right. Great. So it's talking about, you can come to campus. We would love to have you. It's not a bad idea to come maybe even before your classes start if you'd like to come and find your classes. But as you're arriving, one of the first things you'll start to think about is parking. So a question we get asked often is, do I need a parking permit to park at Pellissippi State? The answer is no. Dual enrollment students, freshman students, traditional students do not need a parking permit at Pellissippi State. We do ask that you park in open parking lots. So you'll see the picture here, open parking. We have a lot of parking available on campus. It's generally not a problem, although you do want to get there a little bit early to give yourself plenty of time to find a space and get to class. We do ask that you avoid faculty parking lots. You could have a parking ticket if you park there, so please make sure that the lot you park in is not reserved for faculty. Faculty and staff do have to have parking tags to park there, so just be aware of that. And of course, we do have accessible parking lots on all campuses if you use an accessible parking tag. So I'd like to talk with you about some resources for success. And one of the first ones is having a student ID. So although you won't use this all the time at Pellissippi State, there are some times that it's really important to have a student ID. I'm going to talk about those in a second. But first, to talk about how to get your student ID. So you can go to whichever campus is preferred. On the Hardin Valley campus, you'll visit the Goins building on the second floor, room 244, to get your student ID. And at other campuses, it's the campus library. You will need to bring a photo ID and know your Pellissippi P number so that they can help you get a student ID made. And you don't have to have an appointment for the student ID. You can just go to those locations during normal business hours and they can help take care of that for you. Some other campus resources. So the tutoring center is something that we strongly recommend that students take advantage of, and that's all students. But as a dual enrollment student, you have access to free tutoring for almost every subject that Pellissippi State offers. And we have that on every campus. You might want to check the hours, but there is no appointment needed for a tutoring session. You can look on their website, or you can just come in. We have the hours posted on the tutoring center, and there's some great tutors here at Pellissippi State. So again, it's free. We have them all the time, especially for big subjects like English and math, for science classes. So please make sure that you take advantage of that. We say that it's one of the most underutilized resources by all of our students, but especially by dual enrollment students. And it's a really good opportunity to take advantage of. Students who might score a B normally in a class, go to tutoring, and that's just going to give you that extra bump. Make sure you're getting that information. So we strongly encourage all students to take advantage of that. A time that you'll definitely need that photo ID, that's Pellissippi State student ID, is if you utilize our testing center. So every campus does have a testing center on site. And this is a place where if you have like an online math course or another science class or something that requires in-person testing, you can schedule that with our testing center. And that way you can go on campus, take the test, but they will ask for that student ID to prove your identity. So just make sure you have that ready to go. Pellissippi State has so many resources that are here to support our students. And we want to just talk about some of those. Some of those include our library, our student rec centers. We have a lot of student clubs and student organizations, and we encourage our dual enrollment students to take advantage of those opportunities. So our libraries, we have one available on each campus, and they are open to all dual enrollment students. So whether you're wanting to borrow an academic book or something, more like just something that you're wanting to read, we have lots of access there. They also have resources that students can borrow. So if you ever have a technology need, something like that, a lot of times our library can help meet that need. So go check them out. We have great librarians. They want to visit with you. So just encourage you to take advantage of our libraries. Lots of ways to get involved on campus. We have a student rec center at the Hardin Valley campus. It's a very large facility, has lots of opportunities to play. Intramural activities on the Hardin Valley campus, different exercise equipment that you can use. You do have access to that as a dual enrollment student. And at every campus, we also have a fitness center. So even if it's not the giant rec center, you're welcome to take advantage of the fitness centers on each campus. We do have sports at Pellissippi State. We're really excited about that. But that is something that will be an option after students complete high school graduation. In other words, to be an official Pellissippi State athlete, that would be something that you could take advantage of after high school graduation. So there are some things that we have to reserve for students who have already graduated high school. Another really cool opportunity that I want you to put on your list to consider is study abroad. And that's something else that you will have to wait until after high school graduation, but it's an amazing opportunity that Pellissippi students can take advantage of. So again, most of our resources are available for dual enrollment students, but some things like being a Pellissippi State athlete and study abroad would have to wait until after high school.
Hey, Rebecca, before we go on to student clubs,
Yeah.
there's a slew of student ID questions that I would love to
Okay.
answer right
Sure.
now.
Yes.
And thanks, guys, for the questions. Keep them coming. Those that we haven't answered yet, I promise we will do our best. So if you're only taking online classes, do you need a student ID? Well, not necessarily. I mean, if you're taking a math course, yes, you definitely need a student ID because that is going to be required for all of our math courses as in-campus person testing requirements, and you need a student ID for that. But if you are just taking online courses, you're not going to use the library or any of the campus resources, which is totally okay. Not maybe necessarily worth the drive to campus unless you want one. So one person asked about renewing IDs. So your first ID is free, and that stays with you forever, essentially. Like if you have a student ID now and you don't come back to Pellissippi maybe for a few years or something like that, whatever, replacements are $20. And you don't ever have to get it renewed. It's just something that you kind of keep for as long as you're with us. And if you come back, $20 for a replacement. So students can get IDs if they are registered for classes and they've completed everything. They should be able to get an ID made at any time. However, this isn't something that's necessarily worth waiting in a line for come like August 20th. It's going to be busy. Everyone is, waiting on ID or whatever. It's not worth waiting. It's not worth, jumping in the car and going tomorrow. At the same time, it's not worth, waiting in a line of 30 people. It's just recommended. I do know Hardin Valley Academy is one school that requires all students to get an ID. I think that is a wonderful idea. But in most instances, just grab one when you can. They're never bad to have. You do not need an appointment. You can drop in at any of the locations to get a student ID. You just need another ID and your Pellissippi State student ID number, known as your P number. And let's see, I think that may have the questions about student IDs. You cannot, we do not make we do not make IDs on high school campuses. That would be great if we did, but we don't do that. Students do have to come to one of our campuses. And I think that's got it. And I think we can move on unless you have anything you want to add, Rebecca.
No, I think you covered it. That's great.
All right. So we will get to many of these other questions later, but I think that's got the ones on student ID.
Perfect. All right, so just wanted to touch on one more thing about options like when you're in high school and some things you might have to wait on. So two of our most popular programs, our nursing program and our aviation A&P program, you do have to wait until you're completed high school to go into the career-specific courses there. However, there are some prerequisites for those programs that we could get started on as a dual enrollment student. So if you're interested in those, I'll give you some examples like English, math. You want to take the right math for the program or speech. You can definitely go ahead and work on those as a dual enrollment student. But some classes, like you can't, wait until you take the nursing specific classes to after you've graduated high school. All right, so moving on to student engagement activities, just want to touch on that. We have a lot of clubs at Pellissippi State, and we have clubs on our Hardin Valley campus and also on our other campuses across the Knoxville area in Blount County. There's everything from student government, different leadership clubs that you can be involved in, a lot of different social clubs that have to do with personal interests. We have a film club at the Blount County campus, club sports, so just a lot of opportunities. So we encourage our dual enrollment students to get involved. I'm seeing like there's a bass fishing group, there's a cycling group, Spencer. So lots of opportunities to join our campus community and have some fun while you're here as well.
All right. So I know there's been a few questions, and I'm sure there could be others about payment issues and things about everyone who is enrolled right now has a balance on their account. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to do a quick overview of the TSAC dual enrollment grant as well. So the TSAC dual enrollment grant covers the cost of the first 5 classes, regardless of the number of credit hour. So if it's a 1 credit hour class like fitness walking, the dual enrollment grant covers the tuition and the student access fee for that class, the dual enrollment student access fee. The student takes chemistry, that's a 4 credit hour course. Dual enrollment grant covers the cost of chemistry and that dual enrollment student access fee. The only out-of-pocket expenditure for all students is any required textbooks or e-text or course materials. And I'll also talk about textbooks too in a little bit. So students do have to apply for the grant each year. To check your grant status, to make sure you've applied, you can do a Google search for TSAC Student Portal, and you can see whether or not you have scholarships that you've applied for or not. Students do still have time to apply for the grant if for some reason you have not done so. We are going to try our very best to credit all students' accounts with dual enrollment grant funds by August the 8th. I know that's the first bullet point there. So it is a manual process, and we can't start doing it until August the 1st, which is very soon. So our goal is to get all students' accounts up to date by August the 8th in time for the first payment deadline on August the 12th. Once students start taking dual enrollment courses, they have to maintain a C average or better in all of their courses. So if a student takes English 1010, one course, and they get a D, which, by the way, one of the only reasons that Rebecca McPherson and Spencer Joy are here tonight is that the level of success that dual enrollments bring when they come to our college. Overwhelmingly, the vast majority of students earn A's or B's. However, there are times when students don't perform as well. And if a student were to have taken one class and earned a D or lower, they will lose their eligibility for the dual enrollment grant for the rest of the time that they're in high school. They cannot regain it. They can't retake the course to regain it. They could retake the course and pay out of pocket. Sometimes that's a good idea. Sometimes that's a terrible idea, depending on the situation. But the fact is that if a student drops below a 2.0 college GPA, they lose their eligibility to access the dual enrollment grant. Please understand that that loss of eligibility only applies to the dual enrollment grant. It does not apply to Tennessee Promise. It does not apply to the Hope Scholarship. So if in the event that a student loses their eligibility for the grant, yes, they're kind of out of luck while the remainder of the time that they're in high school with accessing the grant, but they still could be eligible for Tennessee Promise, Hope Scholarship, so on and so forth. So those first 5 classes that are free, that is, and the next 5 that are half off, that does not repeat every year. Okay, that is during a student's junior and senior years combined. So 5 free during your junior and senior year, 5 half off during their junior and senior year. Courses 1 through 5 free, courses 6 through 10 roughly half off. And again, students do need to apply for the grant each year. For next year, the grant opens on February the 1st. So again, TSAC student portal, do a Google search for that. If you need to log in and make sure your account is right, make sure that Pellissippi State is listed as a college or university for where you're going to be taking your courses. So textbooks, I said this, I'll say it again. Textbooks are a responsibility for students and families. It says, wait until the semester begins to purchase textbooks, ? I would highly recommend that students wait until the first day of the semester to purchase anything, to hear exactly from their instructor what books they're going to need in order to succeed in the course. Now, one thing that is really helpful that we have in My Pellissippi is, I'll go back and kind of start over to see my schedule here. So I'll log into my account and I'm going to my schedule and I'm going to the blue box that says ebooks at the Pellissippi State Bookstore. And here it should show you an idea of either what's going on or what you may need or what you don't need. So in the case of biology, it says stop. This is a digital textbook that you were charged for when you registered for this class. Do not try to order this e-text through the website. Pellissippi State has billed you for this already. And I will show you where we will see that. I'm also taking stats as an example. And again, stop. This is a digital textbook you registered for the class. And so students can see the cost of all e-text books. If you do e-text Pellissippi State, just Google that. And there is a web page that shows the cost of all of our courses that have a required e-text. And I wasn't sure if this was going to be updated in time for today, and it was updated today. So any course that a student's registered for that has an e-text, this shows the cost of them. And across the board in math, almost every single one of our math courses has some type of required e-text. Okay. And there is an option to opt out. Students will all receive an email to their Pellissippi State email account about any e-textbook charges. Okay. For the courses I'm registered for, I received it like 2 or 3 days ago. It doesn't really tell you exactly how much the books are, but it kind of talks about it. And no student should ever opt out of their e-textbook until their instructor tells them to. If an instructor says you can opt out, you don't need it, that's when. Otherwise, I tell all students, excuse me, to just assume that the e-text will be required for you in order for you to succeed. So I will show you guys where we will pay for these e-text books and that kind of stuff in just a minute. If there is, in my case, the two texts, we still have many classes that require an actual physical textbook. So in my case, they're both e-text. But if a student is registered for a class that requires a physical textbook, that should be listed here. And I still would wait to hear exactly from the instructor, which book is required. If there's two, do we need both or do we just need one? So for any parents that are maybe on the call, this is something that's completely foreign. If you have a degree, associate's, bachelor's, been to college at all, back in when I went to college, if you showed up to class without your books, looked like your instructor looked at you like you had caterpillars coming out of your ears or something. That is absolutely not the case anymore. And I strongly suggest that all students wait rather than go to the bookstore, buy things that they may or may not need, seek clarification exactly from their instructor. And of course, this will be a topic, should be a topic for all students on the first day of class. And let's see. So some of this I've said, but I am going to revisit. So everyone who is registered for a class right now has a message. Well, probably, whether you're registered for a class or not, there is one thing that can be really helpful for us, and that is this alert box in My Pellissippi. So it does reference you've registered for courses where textbooks come in electronic format, view specific courses, charges, and opt-out options. All right. And then it also says you need to confirm your schedule for the fall 2025 semester. All right. So this does not need to be done for dual enrollment students, okay? Because this cannot happen. Now, no dual enrollment students account is going to look like this because you're not going to have all these fees on here. You're only going to have any e-text charges, tuition charge, and a dual enrollment service access fee, which again, that's part of the tuition and covered by the grant. So dual enrollment students cannot confirm their attendance until their balance is zero. And that cannot happen until we credit students' accounts with the dual enrollment grant. And then if there is any remaining balance for e-text charges or anything else, the student or family pays that, then the balance is zero, then your attendance is confirmed. So yes, this is coming down to the wire. The first day of the semester is August the 20th. The first payment deadline is August the 12th. Trust me, we are all very well aware. If a student in the event has applied for the grant and does not pay this e-textbook charge by the 12th of August, a student's schedule will not be dropped or impacted in any way. All right. The e-textbook charges have to be paid before the end of this, before the semester begins, hopefully. But if for some reason you forget, that is okay. They have to be paid before the end of the semester. A student can't register for the next semester without paying for them first. And if for some reason you forget to pay for the e-text, students can still access them. But again, a student's transcript can't be sent. A student can't register for a future semester. But just rest assured, if you're concerned about payment, we're going to get it. We can't start until August the 1st. It takes us a little time. Every student who's applied for the grant is going to be good to go. Student account services, if for some reason there's an issue with your grant or it hasn't been applied, student account services is the organization or the part of the college who actually credits students' accounts with the grant. But yeah, that's a lot of information about payment and whatnot, but I am, again, rest assured that we will get this. This is always the case every year because we can't start till August the 1st. So we will get it taken care of. So here's some really important dates for the fall semester. 100% date refund, August 19th. So if a student is registered for a class, let's say a student's registered for 2 courses and one of them they don't plan on taking, they have to be out of it by August the 19th for 100% refund on that course. First day of classes, as we said, is Wednesday, August the 20th. Students can, let's say a student's registered for 2 courses and they are registered for psychology and they want to switch to sociology for one of those courses, they can do that. But they have to do that by August 22nd. If a student is registered for 2 courses and they want to drop one of them, that technically is not permissible. They would have to make a change to another. Our fall break is October 6th through 12th. I'm not sure that those are the same dates for every single student on the call. So depending on where you go to school, I know in Knox County, I believe it's the same. And in most of our high school partners, it is. but that is our fall break. Midterm grades will be available. Students can view those in their My Pellissippi account. Cannot view those in Brightspace. October the 13th, Thanksgiving break, 27th November through December the 30th. Classes in December 6th. Final exam period, December 8th through 11th. Final grades will be available in all students' My Pellissippi accounts by 4:30 p.m. on December the 12th. We have a couple of dates to think about for the spring. Registration begins for the spring on October 22nd. We recommend that all students register for any spring classes between October 22nd and Thanksgiving. And Rebecca and I have dates scheduled with many of our high school partners. If we don't have dates scheduled, we'll get those scheduled where we will be going out to our high school partners in Blount County and in Knox County and helping students register for courses in preparation for the start of for the start of spring 2026, which the first day is conveniently January 20th. So August 20th, first day for fall, January 20th, first day for spring. Don't know if it's ever worked out like that before in my life, but it does make it convenient. So for anything that you guys still maybe need, I recommend heading over to the dual enrollment website and either scheduling an appointment with us, emailing the dual enrollment email account. There are multiple people that check that. And we've also included our phone number here, the college's phone number. And I think we may be ready for some questions here. So let's see here. Give me just a minute here and we'll try to, oh yes, the recording will be recorded. We will send that back out to everyone. And we will email that to all students, Pellissippi accounts. I have a few questions on here regarding attendance. Rebecca, what about sporting events or if a student has an appointment during class?
So we are an attendance taking institution. And so it is very important that students attend class anytime that it's possible. There are some options, if you have something that's very important, it's associated with your high school, it's something that cannot be missed. The most important thing that you can do is communicate that with your instructor and set up a plan with the individual instructor. But if there's any way that you can be in class, if an appointment can be, adjusted so that you can be in class, it's very important to try to attend. Occasionally, like we did have a situation where a student had to take like an ACT test during the class time when they were there. And so sometimes there can be exceptions, but overall attendance is very important. And so we need to try to make every effort to be in class.
All right. Let's see. Someone's asked if there is a grant that pays for textbooks or e-textbooks. Boy, we wish there was. And Rebecca and I have that on our list to maybe crack that nut one day. But as of now, there is no other scholarship funding available to students other than the dual enrollment grant, and that's it. So that would be an out-of-pocket expenditure.
I see a good question, Spencer. A student says, if a calculus class says it is on campus / online, will the student receive an email with the instructions for the first day of class? Would you like to answer that or would you like me to?
We'll let you do that one.
Okay, so if any class on your schedule says it's on campus / online, then that is truly an on-campus course with the ability to pivot to online in a case where we might need to do something, similar to what happened during the COVID-19 timeframe. So the dates and the times of that class will be listed on the student's schedule. And so the student would report to class on that day. It is not really an online course. An online course would say TBA for the time. And so if it says a campus location and a time, it is expected that the student should be on campus.
Someone asked about the typo on Thanksgiving break. Yes, that's definitely a typo on the Thanksgiving break. Thank you for catching that. That our Thanksgiving break does not go till December 30th. We're off the Wednesday, the 25th through, I bet that's December the 3rd, maybe. Let's see.
Oh, I have the
No, excuse me.
calendar
I'm
right
sorry.
here.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. What does it say?
Holiday Thanksgiving college closed November 27th through 30th. So it's November 30th.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Um, Someone asked about in your schedule, it will say if you're looking at your schedule and it says instructors are TBA, it is possible that we have not assigned. I mean, we all courses, excuse me, that are assigned will have an instructor assigned to them, and if they haven't yet, that's okay. It's still coming. So don't be alarmed by that. And if you're taking an online course, it will always say to be announced on the times and days, because if it's an asynchronous course, then that there aren't any times that you will be meeting. Let's see.
Spencer, I see a question. It says, I'm taking courses at two different colleges. What is the process for getting funds for coursework at both colleges?
Absolutely. So if a student is taking, oh, and by the way, someone else asked about the TSAC student portal. So just do a Google search for TSAC student portal. I don't know what happened there. It actually may be down because they may be actually doing some maintenance on it, which would be rare, but yes, there we go. So if a student is enrolled in taking a class, like let's say Pellissippi State and maybe Maryville College or Bryan College or something like that, this is what the dual enrollment grant application looks like. And I am just quickly, so you would have Pellissippi as potentially the primary college and Maryville College as the other one. So we do definitely have students taking courses at different colleges, and that is the way that is taken care of, which is a great thing for helping students. Used to be quite a bit harder than that.
I see another question that's kind of related to this. It's just a reminder. So they said, I'm not sure if you've covered this. I'm a dual enrollment high school student and I applied for the grant. My Pellissippi says I still owe money. What should I do? So the answer to this is just hang out for us for just a minute. We are expecting to see the dual enrollment grant be applied to students' accounts, hopefully by August 8th. Is that correct, Spencer?
That is right.
All right.
Let's see. So someone asked about disability services, and so great question here. I will come back to the presentation momentarily, but I think this is the question that you are asking. So when a student is applying for disability services, student forms. So one of the questions is, it's on here somewhere, expected graduation term. What I recommend you do is put the term when you're not going to be at Pellissippi any longer. Like if you think you're only going to be here for a couple of years, just put that. If you think you're going to make a great decision maybe and stay with us after high school, put that as your graduation date. Maybe that is the same year as your high school graduation date, but it's not, like 4 or 6 years from now. It's something, so disability services is like everything else at Pellissippi. We have so many dual enrollment students that dual enrollment students are present and prevalent almost everywhere. So it's not when a student reaches out disability services or whatever, we treat we strive to treat all students exactly the same, meet them where they are, regardless whether they're 14 or they're 87. But yeah, that is a question that I commonly get about disability services. And it's like, wait, what do we put there? Let's let's see about some other questions we can get to maybe.
Sure. I see a question about the fitness center.
Mhm.
They said, can I ask you to repeat what you said about the active centers again? Did you mention there were areas on campus where student could take advantage of in regards to working out? Absolutely. Every one of our campus has a fitness center, and dual enrollment students are welcome to utilize those fitness centers. And then on the Hardin Valley campus, there is a student recreation center that they also have access to use. And so there's everything from just general workout equipment, and then we also have access to, some different kind of intramural sports there as well.
Um, let's see. Is transportation offered for D classes? That is a bigger nut to crack than the school, than E-Tech's scholarships. But in Spencer Joy Dream World, absolutely, there would be transportation offered. That is, it is less of a barrier now with as much online availability we have, and as students are doing better in online courses, just given to things like Canvas. And it's not, starting college in person is always, almost always the best way. But yes, transportation is a barrier, and unfortunately, there isn't anything available that I'm aware of, really. There isn't we don't have like they're like textbooks. There isn't any extra like scholarships or discounts or fund or scholarship funds to help offset those. Someone asked, if you log into Pell City State and it says it's time to register for fall 2025 term, we love to hear that. That means you need to register for classes as soon as you possibly can. Let's see. Is there a certain number of days you can miss in a class? I love that question. So I'm kind of an old time Pellissippian. Actually, I've been a student or employee for 25 years now. And back in the old days, we absolutely did. It was 25% across the board. If you missed 25% of the course, you failed. And that is the way really just about everything in life should be. If you miss 25% of work, if I miss 25% of work, I'm toast. If you miss 25% of practice as any kind of athlete, you're not going to be any good. No, there isn't across the board policy. However, we do all realize that students do have to miss. And each department can have their own policy. If they have one, it wouldn't be bigger than 25%. But that's if you miss more than 25% of the class, you are not going to do well.
Yeah. I have a question here on the disclosure form for FERPA. Is the verbal password something I create now or something that was provided by Pellissippi? That is something that the student would create, and it's notated. So the person who's calling to access the information would have to have that verbal password, but you can create that.
If you can't access the TSAC portal, it says, should we already have an account or do we need to create one? Well, that is a great question. We at Pellissippi State can't see if you have an account. There's really not a way to see that you have an account, but you could try to select the forgot username. I'm going to the TSAC student portal and let me log out. And so if this looks familiar, if you created an account and you don't know that you have, you can try to select forgot username, forgot password. And if an account doesn't show up, you can create one. And if it still says you have one, there will be a number you can call. And they are super helpful. They do this for a living, help reset students' accounts. So you would just need to call that number and get it reset. But this account is something completely different than my Pellissippi or your Pellissippi State email address. It's not an email address. It's a username that has letters and numbers in it. It would have been something that you created and not something that was issued to you, something that you created. So yeah, definitely you need to try to log in and see if you can access your account and make sure um, that you can access that. So there's a few questions that I don't know that we are going to be able to get to. Yes, and professors should explain and provide information on how to access e-textbooks. If not, reach out and say, hey, or ask, what can I get some more information on exactly how to do this?
And another
Um,
related question, they said, are all textbooks electronic or hard copy? So it's this instructor can set that preference. So they may prefer an electronic textbook. There may be a hard copy book required, and that's something that you could see on that My Pellissippi account when you go to the schedule and click on that Brightbook link. When you go to the bookstore site, it'll show you which textbooks are recommended for your class, and so they could be electronic or they could be a physical textbook.
Are there any others in here that we can take quickly? And again, any that we don't, because there are still some out there we haven't answered, we will get back with you and with your answers to your question. Classes online. Are there Zoom calls every morning or will it be work alone? Okay, great question. So we have two different kinds of online classes. The vast majority of our courses are asynchronous courses. They will not have a time or date for when a student meets. It's you log in whenever you can. It is absolutely not, it is not work at your own pace in the sense you can't fall behind. Like there's weekly assignments. You can't just say, all right, I'm 2 weeks behind, I'm going to catch up. Can't do that. You also can't fly through the class. So it's paced out through 15 weeks. So those are asynchronous courses. That's far and beyond the most common form of online course that we offer. We do offer what are known as synchronous, the opposite of asynchronous courses, and they have times and dates that would be listed on your schedule for when the course is going to meet. And those would be delivered via Microsoft Teams or Zoom. All of that information would be in Brightspace, and you would be expected to log in to whichever platform during those times and days as if you were taking an in-person course. And I think we'll leave it as that maybe. But we really appreciate everyone who's been able to join us. I hope some of you guys maybe learned something that you didn't know before. And I hope most importantly that you guys are more prepared for the upcoming semester. Any
Yes,
closing
thank you
words you'd
so
like to add,
much.
Rebecca?
Just thank you so much for being here. We're really glad that you're interested in dual enrollment, and we're excited that you've taken on this commitment. And please reach out to us if you do have other questions. You can find our contact information on that dual enrollment website, and we are happy to help.